Hi, our topic for today is inventory, and we will focus into the recognition of inventory. So for this particular topic, we are to learn when to recognize inventory, and also what items are to be included in the inventory. Okay, so we start first with the recognition of inventory. So when do we recognize inventory? So we recognize inventory when first the entity controls the inventory as a result of past events. Second, it is probable that future economic benefits will flow to the entity. Okay, so when do we recognize inventory? First, the entity controls the inventory as a result of past events. Second, it is probable that the future economic benefits will flow to the entity. So this recognition criteria is provided under PS2, which is the standard which covers inventory. Now, on the first one, it said that the entity must control the inventory as a result of past events. No problem with past events. No problem with past events. You already know that in your AE 100. One thing that we need to discuss more is the control. Remember that the definition of your asset under your conceptual framework version 2018 provides that an asset must be controlled by the entity. Hence, ownership is immaterial so long as there is control. But when can we say that there is control into your inventory? When can we say that there is control into your inventory? If the risks and rewards of ownership flows through the entity. Okay, so there must be a transfer of risks and rewards of ownership. So can direct already the risks and rewards as to that particular inventory item. But take note, although the definition here provides still ownership, we do not base it only as to the title over the inventory. But again, we look as to the risks and rewards because you control the asset, because you control the asset. So normally, it is not just a continuing involvement or a control over the inventory. There must be a transfer of fees or rewards. So not a continuing involvement, not just merely a control over the conduct of the inventory, but there must be a transfer of fees and rewards of ownership. Next, there must be a probable future economic benefits that will flow to the entity. But take note, when we recognize inventory, what is important is control. We must control the inventory. Now, after knowing the recognition, we go now to the definition. So how do we define inventory? So of course, inventory is defined under PAS2. Inventory is defined under PAS2. And under PAS2, inventory is an asset which is held for sale in the ordinary course of the business. Next, in the process of production for such sale. Next, in the form of materials or supplies to be consumed in the production or in the rendering of services. Okay, so under PAS 2, the definition of inventory is not exclusive. It's not exclusive. So it is not exclusively defined as such as a general form of inventory. In the definition of PAS 2, inventories were enumerated. So it enumerates the different types of inventory. So for example, in letter A, it is held for sale in the ordinary course of the business. So this can be your merchandise inventory or your finished goods inventory. In the process of production for such sale, it can be your work in process inventory, of course, in the form of materials or supplies. So this is your raw materials inventory or your supplies inventory. So this particular definition is not really an exclusive definition, just like any other type of asset, in which there was an exclusive definition given as to the type of asset, which provides now to the different characteristics of that asset. However, in the definition of PAS 2, what we have here is an enumeration of the different types of inventories. So we have 3 enumerations. We have your merchandise inventory or finished goods inventory, work in process inventory, raw materials inventory, or supplies. This goes now as to what types of inventory are present as to the type of the business. So we have these different kinds of business. We have either servicing, merchandising, and manufacturing. So we have your MI or FGI, we have your work in process, we have your RMI or supplies. So in servicing, what is only present is the supplies. In merchandising, what is only present is the merchandise inventory. But in manufacturing, FGI, work in process, and RMI are present. Right. So all 3 inventories are present in manufacturing. However, for servicing and merchandising, only one type of inventory is kept. So for servicing, we only have supplies, and for merchandising, we only have your merchandise inventory. So why is it important for us to determine what type of inventory is kept by a particular type of business, so that we know the items that we should include as to the inventory? So if ever it is servicing, you could only include number 3. If that is merchandising, you could only include number 1. And in manufacturing, you can include 1, 2, 3. Because take note, guys, an inventory is not defined exclusively. It is defined based on the enumeration. So you just need to know what are the items that is present on a particular type of business, whether that is servicing, merchandising, or manufacturing. No problem with supplies. You already know how to compute for the value of your supplies. And normally, that is your ending supplies. No problem for merchandising inventory because you already know how to compute for your ending inventory and your cost of goods sold. You have learned that merchandising and servicing computation of supplies and merchandise inventory under your AA100. Further, for your manufacturing, FGI, work in process, and raw materials inventory, you already learned that in your cost accounting. You've learned that in your cost accounting. So again, we have this enumeration of inventory, and we look as to the type of inventory present in a particular type of business. Now, further, we need to learn what items are to be included in the inventory. So the items included in the inventory. So although you know that the items in the servicing should be supplies, and merchandising should be merchandise inventory, in manufacturing that can be FGI, work in process, or RMI, but still there are different terms, items included. There are different terms of sale which provides now whether you have the risk and rewards or not, okay? So we look as to the different terms of sale, whether you have your risks and rewards, okay? Why do we need to know the terms of sale? Because normally, guys, in inventory, we look as to your sale, and it is your ordinary course of your business. Why? Because you purchase inventory and you sell inventory. So what we look here is, when do we say that the purchase inventory is part of inventory? And when can we say that the inventory sold is not part of inventory? So we need to examine the different terms as to the purchase and as to the sale, so that we can say the item is really included as part of your inventory. One thing is to know that the inventories can either be MI, WIP, or MI. However, one thing again is to determine whether that MI, that work in process, that supply, that finished goods inventory is really included in the inventory, okay? So in the selling process, of course, you purchase and you sell. So again, we need to determine in your purchase if ever it is part of inventory, and if you sell, if it's not part of inventory. If you sell, if it is not part of inventory. So we go first on your terms on purchase. Terms on purchase. So the general terms in your purchase is your FOB shipping terms. FOB shipping terms. So the main determinant here is what inventory must be included while the goods are in transit. Take note, we are to sell. We are to purchase. We are to purchase. So if you are to purchase, what inventory must be included while the goods are in transit? So we have two FOB shipping terms. You have your FOB shipping point and FOB destination. So between the two, what inventory must be included while the goods are in transit? So at the point of shipment, the ownership must already be transferred. That is FOB shipping point. So if ever you are purchasing while it is in transit, you only include FOB shipping point. So take note, only FOB shipping point for purchase must be included in inventory. But FOB destination for purchase must be excluded. Must be excluded, okay? So that's for purchase. Next, we have your sales, okay? So for sales transaction, there are too many terms that we need to learn, okay? There are too many terms that we need to learn. So for sales, we start first with your FOB shipping terms. Okay, so for FOB shipping terms, again, we have the two, FOB shipping point and FOB destination. So what do we need to determine here? We need to determine the inventory that is included while it is in transit in a sale transaction. Okay, so if ever it is FOB shipping point, at the time you ship the goods or at the time you sold the goods, the ownership is already transferred. Therefore, this is not included. While destination, this is included. So FOB shipping point not included, or it is excluded. FOB destination included. So you only include, if ever, FOB destination, and that is a sale transaction. That is a sale transaction. So again, we need to determine when we say that the inventory is really part of our inventory, or that item of inventory is part of inventory. So we need to look as to the risks and rewards of ownership. So what are the risks and rewards of ownership as your FOB shipping terms? So the risks and rewards of ownership as your FOB shipping point is transferred at the time of shipment, while FOB destination, the risk and reward is transferred at the time it reaches the destination. Therefore, if you are selling, the inventory is still included in your inventory if ever your shipping term is FOB destination, because as of that moment, the ownership or the risk and reward is still remains to you as the seller. It will only be transferred at the time it will be received by the buyer. How about in your purchase? In your purchase as to your FOB shipping terms, we need to determine what must be included. What must be included? So we will only include those risks and rewards that is already provided to us as the buyer at the time of shipment or during its transit. Therefore, only FOB shipping point should be included. FOB shipping point should be included. Please, guys, do not be confused as to the mode of the term. If it's FOB shipping point or FOB destination, it is still the same. It is still the same. Dapat, ang tingnan nyo na lang talaga dito is whether you are purchasing or you are selling. Pag purchasing ka, ang include mo, shipping point. Tanggalin mo lahat ng destination. Pagka nagbebenta ka naman, ang idadagdag mo ay destination, tanggalin mo yung mga FOB shipping point. So, example. Okay, so wait. Okay, so example. As of December 31, the following are presented. Purchase, FOB shipping point, December 28th, receive January 2, P 30,000. Purchase, FOB shipping point, January 2, receive January 3, P 40,000. Purchase, FOB destination, December 27, receive December 30, 30,000. Purchase, FOB destination, December 29, receive December 30, 15,000. Okay? So as of December 31, the following are presented. If the question is, as of December 31, what items are included in the inventory? Okay, so you cut off here on December 31. Your cut off is December 31. So anything that is purchased until December 31, FOB shipping point is included. Anything that is received on December 31 under FOB destination is included. But if that is FOB destination, purchase, not yet received as of December 31, you exclude. Okay? So our rule is, we need to look whether as of December 31, the purchases FOB shipping point include. If you receive an inventory as of December 31 that is in the term of FOB destination, include. If that is FOB destination and it is not yet received as of December 31, you exclude. Okay, so we look here. Purchase FOB shipping point. So shipping point, include. Made before December 31. So your cutoff is December 31. Next, FOB shipping point, purchase January 2. So take note, our cutoff is December 31. So only those purchases until December 31. This is January 2, do not include. Next, FOB destination. So what is our rule on FOB destination? It must be received on December 31. If it is not yet received on December 31, it is excluded. So here, FOB destination, December 27, received December 30. So December 30, pasok sa December 31, include. Next, December 29 purchase, received December 30. December 30, pasok sa December 31, include. Okay? So, although you know that the FOB shipping point should be included, while FOB destination should be excluded, we still look whether it passes our cutoff date. So our cutoff date is December 31. So if ever we try to look at the rules now, the main rule is really, if the purchase is made FOB shipping point, it should be made until cutoff. If the purchase is made FOB destination, you must receive the inventory until cutoff. Okay? So I hope we are clear here regarding your purchase. Same as true with your sale. Same as true with your sale. So for a sale, what is the rule? For your sale, if the sale is made FOB shipping point, all sales made on or before cutoff is excluded. And all sales, no, that's for FOB shipping point. How about if ever it is FOB destination? So all sales which were delivered on or before cutoff is excluded. Include as inventory only if delivered after cutoff date. Okay, so what is the cutoff date again? That is the reporting period. So cutoff date, that is your reporting period. So whatever is the reporting period in the problem, so let's say June 30, as of June 30, how much is the inventory included? You just need to know as of June 30, what is included and what is excluded based on the shipping term, whether it is destination or whether it is shipping point. Okay, so let's try to have an example for your sales, which is copy this one. Okay, so we just copy it and we just remove the purchase and change it into sale. Okay, so as of December 31, what items are included in inventory? So we go back to our rule. If that is FOB shipping point, all sales made on or before the cutoff is excluded. So before cutoff, excluded. After cutoff, included. Okay, next, FOB destination, all sales which were delivered on or before cutoff is excluded. So our cutoff is December 31. So our delivery date, here December 30 excluded, here December 30 excluded. So what items is included in the inventory? Only the 40,000. Okay, we go back. Sale is made FOB shipping point. If it is made on or before cutoff date, it is excluded. After cutoff date, then we include. So we look as to the sale date. So this is the sale date. FOB shipping point, what is important is the sale date. Okay. FOB destination, what is important? The receive date of the customer. Okay. So FOB shipping point, sale date, if ever made on or before cutoff, we remove. If it's made on or before cutoff, it is removed. Okay, so where were we? I'm sorry, there was a call I need to answer. So I think we're talking about the sale. Now again, if ever that is a sale made FOB shipping point, you just need to look at the sale date. So the date of sale, if ever it is made on or before cutoff, we exclude. If ever it is made after cutoff, you include. If that is FOB destination, you look as to the date of receipt. If ever it is received on or before cutoff, you exclude. If you want to include it, it must not be delivered during the cutoff date. So it must be delivered after the cutoff date. Okay, so that's for sale. That's for sale and purchase, FOB shipping point, and FOB destination. So other sale terms that we need to learn. First, another one is consigned goods, or goods out on consignment. Goods out on consignment. So what do we mean by a consigned goods? A consigned goods is the transfer of goods from the seller to the consignee. Okay, so who is this consignee? So the consignee holds the good, so holds the goods for resale. Okay, holds the goods for resale. So what happens in here in a consignment? So we are the seller. We are the seller. You enter into a consignment contract with a consignee. So the seller is the consignor. Normally, this happens in a retail industry. So what happens? So you give first the inventory to the consignee, and the consignee will sell the inventory. And only when it is sold to the third party that it is reported back to the seller. Okay, so again, the seller enters into a consignment contract with the consignee. The seller is known as the consignor. The consignee is normally a retail business. So in a retail business, what happens is the stocks are just placed in the retail establishment, and the retail establishment will sell them. So when it is already sold, it is now reported to the consignor. So take note, at the time of consignment, there is no actual sale. No actual sale. Why? Because the risk and rewards is still with the seller. The risk and rewards is still with the seller. Sir, why? Because still, guys, take note, you only transfer the inventory in view that the consignee can sell it. So parang binigay mo muna sa kanya para ibenta niya. So parang pinapabenta mo lang talaga siya kay consignee. So in short, there was no sale at all. It was only a transfer of inventory. And take note, since there is no sale, there is no transfer of risk and rewards, because the seller still assumes all the risks and rewards in a consignment agreement. So what is the rule then on your consigned goods? Consigned goods that are unsold is part of inventory of the seller. If that is already sold, it is part of cost of goods sold. Okay, so again, in a consignment, seller consigns inventory to the consignee in the view that the consignee can sell it, and once it is sold, it will be remitted or reported to the seller. There is no sale here. It is a mere transfer of inventory, so that it can be easily sold. This is what happens with SM. So the brands in SM actually are not merchandises of SM. They are only consigned by the different brands. So for example, there is Levi's, there is Giordano, there is Old Navy, whatsoever inside the SM department store. So those are the brands, let's say. Those brands are not actually purchases of SM. They are only consigned to SM. So in short, SM is the consignee. It is the retail store. It is not part of the inventory of the retail store because the retail store only holds them for sale, But it is not, it does not have the risks and rewards over those inventory. So the consigned goods in that case is not owned by the consignee, SM, but it is owned by the different brands. So by Old Navy, by Levi's, by Giordano, whatsoever. Okay, so take note, the goods are owned by the seller or the consignor. Therefore, it is not part of the inventory of the consignee. So if ever you are given a problem and the problem says that included in the inventory is a goods held for consignment. So it is held for consignment. So you are the consignee. Do not include that. But if ever includes in the inventory a good out for consignment. Out for consignment, normally that is for consignor. Out for consignment. Nilabas, wala sa atin kasi nasa consignment. Ito naman, held for. So hinahawakan niya lang as consignment. So consignee lang siya. Pag consignee, huwag idagdag. Pag consignor, idagdag. Okay? Next. Sales out on approval. Sales out on approval. So what is this sales out on approval? So this is a concept under your law on sales. This is a concept under your law on sales in which it tells you that if ever a sale may be made by the approval of the buyer. So you deliver first the goods and then the buyer will try and at a certain date must approve it. Okay. So here, there was no actual sale. There was no actual sale because you still need the approval of the buyer. Okay. So if there is already approval, exclude. Why? This is already a consummated sale. But if there's no approval yet, it is only out on approval, you include as an inventory. Okay, so what happens here? Seller, this is buyer. Seller delivers the goods to the buyer. The buyer, within a certain period of time, will either approve or disapprove the inventory. Approve or disapprove. If it approves, then this is sale. If it disapproves, it is not sale. But during the time that there is no approval, during the time that there is no approval yet, still include as inventory. Okay, so I hope we are clear. If there is no approval yet, include. If no approval, still at the end, include. If it's approved, then exclude. So kumbaga kung titingnan mo, ito yung timeline. Ito yung timeline. So this is the date of approval. This is the date of approval. Okay. From the date that it is out for approval, let's say this date, up to the date of approval, it is still included in the inventory of the seller. Why? The risks and rewards is still with the seller because you need the approval of the buyer at the time of approval, and after it, it is now excluded. Okay, so I hope we are clear with sales out on approval. Sales out on approval. So next, we have your special order goods. Special order goods. So what are these special order goods? These are made to order inventory. Made to order inventory. This is specific in a job order. This is specific in a job order. So here in special order, there is already a sale at the time of a special order. Hence, when completed, it is not part of the seller's inventory. Okay, why? Because as early as the special order, the risks and rewards will already be transferred to the buyer. So once it is completed, the risks and rewards, hindi na yan magpapas kay seller, diretso yan kay buyer. So kumbaga, prinocess niya lang, buyer agad after. Clear? Process lang, buyer agad after. Special order goods or made to order goods. Next, we have your sale held for shipping instructions. Sale held for shipping instructions. So what is the sale held for shipping instructions? What is this shipping instructions? So the shipping instructions will come, of course, from the buyer. Will come, of course, from the buyer. So how do we treat this particular type of sale? Okay, so this particular type of sale, if ever it is held for shipping instructions, we still control it until there is a specific shipping instruction. So, ito yung shipping instruction, tama? Ayan, yan yung shipping instruction. Saka lang magkakaroon ng shipping instruction pag binigay ni buyer. So, at the time there is shipping instruction, there is already a transfer to the buyer. There is a transfer to the buyer. But while it is awaiting for shipping instructions, it is an inventory of the seller because the reason rewards is still here with the seller, not until a shipping instruction was provided by the buyer. Okay, so take note, at the time of shipping instruction, it is now transferred to the buyer. But while it is awaiting for shipping instruction, the risk and rewards is still with the seller. It is not yet transferred to the buyer. So you're waiting for the instruction of the buyer. Next, we have your bill and hold sales. Bill and hold sales. So what is this bill and hold sales? So you already billed it. So you already receive the payment, but it is on hold. But it is on hold. So kumbaga nabayaran na. Parang okay na to, antayin mo na lang na i-deliver siya, on hold lang siya, bill and hold sales. So buyer takes title and billing, but delivery of the goods is delayed at the buyer's request. Okay, take note, there is already a billing here. There is already a billing. But since there is already a billing, there is a sale at the time of bill. At the time of bill. Hence, the risks and rewards of ownership is transferred at the buyer. At the buyer. Therefore, if there is a bill and wholesale, do not include this as part of your inventory. It is part of the inventory of the buyer, but not part of the inventory of the seller. Okay, so exclude it as inventory of the seller. Next, we have your layaway sale. Layaway sale. So what is a layaway sale? So this is different with your installment sale. Why? Because in an installment sale, what happens is you get the inventory and there will be an installment payment. In a layaway sale, you pay first all the installment before you get the inventory. So ito yung installment sale. So, kuha dito yung inventory. So, andito yung inventory. Bayad, 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 bayad. While in a layaway sale, bayad, 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 bayad. Tapos, doon mo lang makukuha yung inventory. Okay? So, the inventory will only be given to you after all the payments of the installment. That is a layaway sale. If that is an installment sale, you can already get the inventory at the time of sale and subsequently just pay the inventory thereafter in series of installments. Okay? So, in a layaway sale, what is the effect? So it will only be delivered after the full payment. Therefore, this is part of the seller's inventory. Why? No sale yet. No sale yet. The sale will only happen at the end of the last payment or at the end of the installment payment. How about an installment sale? How about an installment sale? This is already considered a sale under PFRS 15 because although it is an installment sale, we do not look already as to the collectability because under PFRS 15, we have the 5-step model. You need to determine as early as there is a contract of sale as to the variable considerations, whether there is a probability as to that installment sale or not. So we already recognize it as revenue. Since it is a sale, you remove in inventory of the seller. You remove in the inventory of the seller. That is for installment sale. How about if is a sale with right of return? Sale with right of return. So we have already learned this one in our AR. So this is still PFRS 15. You do not already look whether you can estimate the return or not because at the time of sale, you already recognize or exclude the inventory from the seller. Okay, so because of the PFRS 15, we do not look as to the collectability and the estimate of the return already. Because guys, under PFRS 15, using the 5-step model, you already need to determine the transaction price and the amount of the revenue at the time of the revenue on the contract, at the time of the revenue of the contract, whether it is at a period of time or a certain period of time or over a period of time. Okay, so point in time or over a period of time. Okay, PFRS 15. Installment sale, exclude inventory to the seller. Why? Because it is considered a sale already. Sale with right of return, exclude the inventory from the seller. Why? Because it is already included as a sale under PFRS 15. Layaway sale, not yet a sale. Therefore, part of the seller's inventory. Okay? So in this particular discussion, we should learn when to include or exclude the inventory. Okay? So you need to determine whether to include it or to exclude it after learning the different items to be included or the different terms, especially shipping terms. Okay? So ingat sa shipping terms as to whether you are purchasing or you are selling. Okay? So that's it for the recognition of your inventory. Thank you.